a series about the reasons why you might not be able to lose weight. Today we're going to be talking about hormones and their influence that they have on someone's ability to lose weight. Dr. Bob Olivieri, welcome to the show once again.
Good morning, Phil. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's good to have you here. And you said you're very excited about today's topic for some reason.
I am. This is one of my favorite topics. We have a 9-part series of 9 hidden secrets why you can't lose weight. And this is one of my favorite ones because this is related to hormones. And this is a very big topic in the patients that come into our office for our Feel Great Nate Institute program. So anybody that comes in and sees a functional medicine doctor almost always are going to have their hormones evaluated. So we're going to be talking about, like all along we've been talking about different types of hormones. Last time we talked about thyroid, but we're actually going to be getting into the nitty gritty here. We're going to be talking about sex hormones.
Okay.
You know, so we're going to be talking about some details about like estrogen and testosterone and why some people are not producing what the normal levels that they need to be producing. And we're going to kind of get to like the core source of it and actually start to look upstream to why some of these hormones aren't being produced. So it's kind of like an interesting topic because when you're presented with a patient that has some hormonal dysfunction, you kind of want to like do a detective work and say, why is it that you know they need to be supported by estrogen or male testosterone, and what are the reasons for that? And there's a lot of different steps that will lead to the fact that someone's not producing enough estrogen or not producing enough testosterone.
And
So
both male and females produce both?
They do. They do. We're going to talk about the physiology of this, and hopefully this is going to be pretty enlightening because a lot of people don't realize how this actually works. Mm-hmm. If you recall last week when we talked about the thyroid, we were talking about how everything starts up in the brain.
Right.
And there was what we call the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis. Well, in this particular case, we're going to be talking about the hypothalamic, which is an area in the brain, pituitary, another area in the brain, that is also going to be releasing some hormones to go down to either your ovaries for a female or your testes for a male. And we are all producing very similar hormones. So we're going to talk about those pathways in a minute. But you know, the hormone portion right now, hormone balancing has been really like a really super hot topic throughout the alternative medicine community because primarily there's a big movement towards anti-aging. And we think that if we can control hormones and actually control like the amount of hormone that's being secreted, you'll age less, you'll age more slowly. Mm-hmm. You know, so that's what they try to do to try to support that, to try to keep you in your youthful stages. And the celebrities nowadays on television are always promoting something that has something to do with like hormone replacements. Mm. But they, you know, hormones do impact the aging process, but simply giving the body hormones without actually looking at the reasons why they're dysfunctional causes a whole lot of other problems later on down the line. Yes, it might produce a temporary effect, you know, that might be short-lasting, maybe for a year or two, but it's not going to help you, and lots of times it's going to cause damage in the long term. I don't know whether you remember, but you know, back in the I think it was like the 70s or 80s, they were starting to do a lot of estrogen reproduction, or they were giving a lot of estrogen for I think it was like for heart disease, and they found out that there were so many cancers being caused by that they just they just took it totally off the market. Mm-hmm. When they first started this, because they realized that they stopped the study like well before the time that the study was designed. It was supposed to go on for like 5 years or something like that. Don't hold me to that date number, but I remember looking at that study during like the early 70s, because you can't just go and just start giving large amounts of hormones because your body's going to react to it because it influences every part of your body. But hormone imbalances are rampant in today's society, and everything from like people that are having menstrual difficulties or menopausal or low libido or infertility, whatever, are caused by these. But there's also some other things beyond that. Conditions like autism and migraine and brain fog and much more can be related to different hormones. But the imbalances are very common. It's rarely the core cause of what the problem is. So we're going to talk about all these different things that influence our hormone production, things that you can do in your lifestyle modifications to actually make your hormones function better, allowing your brain to function better so these hormones are going to be produced better. Look at the other influencing factors that have on your hypothalamus, on your pituitary, on your actual end gland, which is either your testes or your ovaries. And what are some of the things that you can actually do in your lifestyle to actually get that entire system functioning better? So hopefully you might be able to avoid some of the hormone replacement therapies.
Interesting. Interesting. And again, you said lifestyle modification, because if you want to make these changes in your life, you want to get results, you do have to make some changes.
You
can't
really
keep
do.
doing the same thing.
Sure. You know, we always talk about the hot topic in any functional medicine, inflammation. Inflammation kills. You know, inflammation raises your blood pressure. Inflammation, affects your cortisol and your stress levels. It changes your life. So there are some things that you can do to decrease some of the inflammation in your body, and we're going to talk about those. But we're going to talk about each and every one of these factors at different parts of the brain, different parts of your body, and each one of these little environmental factors or lifestyle factors, what you can do, clean them up, and hopefully get your hormones function a lot better.
Fascinating stuff. We're talking with Dr. Bob Olivieri as we do a big, long series, 9-part series about hidden secrets why you can't lose weight. And what's today's discussion about, Dr. Bob?
Today we are talking about the hormone-fat loss connection.
And we got very interesting stuff. I always learn something when you're here. That's what I always say. And this is quite an interesting series, and they're all connected. And obviously, all the systems in the body are connected, and what happens with one system affects another system.
Right. So hopefully, the people are going to actually, as they listen to this series, they're going to realize that, you know something, everything is interconnected. So, but you have to look at certain types of these systems, find out exactly how they're working and why they're breaking down. Like a good example, there's a lot of disruptors for hormones. And so, like, if you don't look at lifestyle modification we were talking about, there are toxins in our environment that we actually, like from cosmetics or things that like we put on our skin. There are also toxins from certain types of foods that we eat or genetically modified types of foods. There are things that don't go well in our gut, what we call gut dysbiosis, which means that there are more bad bacteria in your intestines than there is good bacteria. So there's a test for that. There's a test to be able to look for that, and it's really important that you have that test done to be able to kind of make that gut working really well, because the source of a lot of the inflammation in our body is coming from small intestines. There's other areas, blood sugar dysregulations. You got to make sure your blood sugar is stable. That's such a huge portion in all of this, and so we talked about that. That's why the first topic we opened up with was insulin. Insulin is what controls your blood sugar, along with the second topic we talked about, which was cortisol. So we have to look at both the balances of that for our blood sugar. We also talked about our adrenal issues. We looked at that about stress issues. Both of those particular things are really, really important in making sure that your hormones are working well. Because if you're stressed out, it's going to affect your libido. It's going to affect all of these different factors all the way down that we're just about to talk about. And then neurotransmitters within your brain. So all of those particular factors come into play. So I'm going to talk about physiology now, and sometimes this is really a difficult topic to talk about on the radio, but we've said that these discussions for the next 9 weeks, this is not for somebody that's just a casual listener for just listening to some music. This is detailed, hardcore things, but I'll tell you, you'll learn an awful lot if you pay attention. So when you're starting to talk about your sex hormones, it all starts up in your brain. We had talked about that, an area up in your brain called your hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is influenced by your neurotransmitters, hormones, your immune system, and all those other things that we just got done talking about. Hypothalamus will connect down to an area called your anterior pituitary gland. Your pituitary gland will when stimulated, will release 2 different hormones. Now, this is going to be both for males and females, so we're going to talk about both. Let's talk about the females first. Both male and female, there are two major hormones that are going to be released. One is FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and the other one is LH, luteinizing hormone. Both of those will come down. Now, if you're a female, it's going to go down and it's going to stimulate your ovary. So FSH is going to go and stimulate, at the end product is going to be estrogen or estradiol, which is E2. The LH is going to stimulate progesterone. So it's really important that those 2 hormones are the end product for a female. For males, LH and FSH are going to come down. One's going to produce sperm, which is your follicle stimulating hormone, and the other one's going to produce testosterone. So if people are having problems with the production of both estrogen or testosterone, it's either going to be in the males, it's going to go down to the testicles that are going to do that, and females, it's going to be in the ovaries. So it's extremely, once that's released, just like the thyroid, remember there was a story we talked about, those hormones need to be bound to a protein to get transported to the rest of the body, right? So you need testosterone all over your body. You need to be able to you need estrogen to go all over your body.
So it can get into your cells.
So it can get into your cells. So there's a binding problem there. There's also a conversion. There's also a transport. And then there's also a part where it actually gets into the cells. So each and every one of those steps, whether it gets bound to the right particular protein, which are made in the liver, or whether it is actually converted into a hormone that can actually be used, whether it's going to be cleared from the liver, which hormones get actually stored in the liver because it gets filtered there. And if they don't get cleared out, there's a buildup in there. This happens with females all the time. We see clearance issues all the time, a problem with the liver. That's why liver detoxification is so extremely important in the management of somebody that has hormone problems.
And there's a test for that.
There is a test for that, right? And there's a procedure that we use. Even in our basic Feel Great Nate program, we use that as part of it. And then there's the actual cells themselves. Do they have receptors that are actually working to be able to use that hormone the way it's supposed to? Now, since these are actually fat-soluble hormones, they can go directly into the cell. There's not a barrier on the cell, so it can go right into the nucleus, and the nucleus can use it. So when we start to think about all the different problems that can go on with this, I'm going to recap this. It goes from the hypothalamus down to your pituitary, down to either your testicles in a male or your ovaries in a female. It is converted into either testosterone or estrogen. That testosterone and estrogen gets bound to a cell to get transported to where it needs to go. Then it needs to get converted into a useful hormone that it's going to be able to use. And also it goes through the liver to be able to be filtered. And so sometimes they get bound in there. So there's a clearance issue. And then there's the cell itself. If that hormone can't get into the cell, then it can't be used. So when people are having problems looking at like having poor estrogen, giving estrogen itself for the treatment of this is not always the proper thing. It can be a binding issue, it can be a transport issue, it can be a conversion issue, it can be other things. So we're going to talk about in the next segment here at each one of those levels what can go wrong and why you got to look at it and why you need to test it in a different way than probably you've been tested before. We're going to talk about saliva testing as opposed to blood testing. And we're going to talk about testing throughout your entire cycle as opposed to a single blood draw. So it's really kind of, hopefully this is fascinating. There's a ton of information that you can use here when somebody's having some hormone dysregulation. And this can be from infertility, PCOS, people that are polycystic ovarian syndrome. I have a young girl that I'm treating right now, or I've treated, I shouldn't even say. She was 24 years old. She hadn't had a menstrual cycle in like 4 years. And so very, very, very simple. I don't treat her for this. I just get her body better. I want to be really clear. I'm not curing any disease. That's not what we do. We just nutritionally support the body in a way that it needs to be supported.
And you work with the physician. They're doctors.
Well, I mean, most of the, it's nutrition. So most of the time they're doctors. Yes, I will absolutely do that. Like in this particular case, she was given cholesterol medication. So I called up her family physician and said, is there any possible way she wants to work out a little bit? Can we kind of like, get like I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't say anything about the drugs.
Right.
But she wants to go off of it. Is there any way that we can go ahead and do that just for 1 month and just give it a month? And she's like, oh, of course. Anytime we can get her off the drugs. She was like, she was thrilled to death at this because she didn't want to put this young girl on cholesterol medication and she was putting her on metformin. Right. She didn't want to do either one of those. But that's the standard of care of what you would normally do for somebody with PCOS. At least the metformin portion of it. And she was already on cholesterol. So we're managing that. And she's absolutely 100% normal. She's been menstruating normal for probably 6 almost a year now, and so it's never been an issue. And it's really easy to correct. You just got to look upstream. You just got to look upstream and find out what those reasons are.
Be the detective, as we said last week.
You do.
Also.
Right.
We're talking with Dr. Bob Olivieri. It's the Feel Great Nate program. You can reach Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob Olivieri joins us every Tuesday on the program. And Dr. Bob, again, what is our topic today we're talking about?
We are talking about the hormone-fat loss connection.
And all these things in the series are designed to help you understand why you might not be losing weight. This is just one of many of the hidden secrets that we talk about.
Sure, sex hormones have a huge reason why people can't lose weight. You'll always hear people say, I'm blaming it on my hormones, right? So we're giving you some reasons why even sometimes hormone support doesn't necessarily help you with this. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about each and every region of these pathways that we just talked about and what can go wrong. Well, up in the brain, of course, the hypothalamus, you can have some hormone dysregulation, because remember, these all cycle back. So like, in order for your brain to know what's going on, there's hormones in the blood that go back up into your brain. So hormone dysregulation, your immune system might not be working, and neurotransmitters can affect your hypothalamus. Your pituitary area in there is very susceptible to stress, inflammation, so high cortisol levels, which we talked about in the second segment in here, and how we can actually lower cortisol, inflammation, and again, your immune system can actually do that. When we go down into the other section, where we're looking down into like either your ovaries or your testes, low cortisol or low cholesterol is a big thing. Remember, in order for the pathway to be made, in order for for a hormone to be made, you need cholesterol. So if you're on a cholesterol lowering drug, does it influence the fact that you may not be able to produce your proper hormones? Absolutely. So a combination of inflammation and lower cholesterol is definitely going to formulate that. The pathway for this, in order for you to make a hormone, starts out with cholesterol. Cholesterol is needed to go and make pregnenolone. Pregnenolone will break off, making progesterone and some cortisol, but it also pregnenolone is needed to be able to make DHEA, which is the precursor to both estrogen and testosterone. So, I mean, that's really simply put, it's much more complicated than that, but you need cholesterol. So if you have low cholesterol, it's going to affect that. Also, certain types of chemical changes and some nutrients and cofactors that may not be there may not allow that to happen. In the binding portion of that, when the hormones get released into the blood, it's released in two different ways. One is called free hormone, where it's usable, and the other one is called bound hormone, which is not necessarily usable. When we do testing for this, we use a saliva test, which measures free hormone. It's measuring the hormone that actually can be used. When you get a blood test to measure your hormones, when you go to like LabCorp and get that done, it's only measuring bound hormone, which is not usable. So you might have a ton of estrogen. It might read normal, but it's not usable. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. They're looking at the wrong portion of the estrogen.
Correct.
That would tie into what you're saying.
Right. That's one reason. Another big reason is it's a single blood draw. So now if I have a menstruating female, I want to be able to see what are their hormones doing throughout the entire course of the cycle. Mm-hmm. So from day 1 through 28, every third day, we'll do a measure. And the measure is going to be for progesterone, it's going to be for estrogen, it's going to be for testosterone, and we're going to get a chance to see what's going on every third day. That's brilliant, right? So we can draw a graph. So estrogen's supposed to spike in the very first portion of the cycle for the first 14 days, and then progesterone should be taken off, like really high, in the second portion of that. Well, what if I just take it on day 5? Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going on with progesterone. Mm-hmm. What if I take it on day, if I get a blood work done on day, 25? I don't know what's going on with that. So you need to be able to, you can do it on a day, there's a certain window in there you can do it, but it's tough to read. To me, I like simplicity. I want to know what's going on with your cycle, and I want to see every single 3 days, and I'm going to draw a nice, beautiful map and be able to measure the free hormone that you can actually use and draw a graph with it.
And that gets done at your office or at the testing site?
Well, we give the test kits in our office. We send them away to specific labs,
Gotcha.
and they give us give us the information. Mm-hmm. But I think it's brilliant. Like, to me, I always say, I'm king of Captain Obvious. I look at things and I go, wow, why haven't we done this before? And I see quite often my frustration, and even as a student, we do things because we did them before, because we did them before, because we did them before. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever really questions it. And then when you question it, nothing ever gets done. So I think a lot of these functional medicine doctors came up with a pretty decent solution on this. So we get a chance to see, okay, with a saliva test, we get a chance to see the cycle. We get a chance to see, whether we're testing hormones that are actually usable, and we're also testing a whole lot of them. We're testing DHEA, testosterone. We're looking at androcytidine. We're looking at FSH. We're looking at LH. We're looking at estradiol. We're looking at progesterone, pregnenolone. So we get a chance to look at all of those hormones and how they interrelate to one another, because each and every one of them interrelate to one another. So I love this test. I think this is a really, really important test to be able to run, to be able to find out exactly the core underlying reason at the cellular level why somebody's having trouble with hormones.
It makes sense, certainly, with Dr. Bob Olivieri. For our final portion of the program today, 9 hidden secrets why you can't lose weight, and today we're focusing on hormones. And what do we got to talk about now, Dr. Bob?
Well, if you're interested in this topic, we give workshops in our office on all these related topics. You know, we've talked about every single week, from cortisol to insulin to thyroid hormone, again, and to hormones. And one of those workshops are going to be occurring this week. We're going to be doing it on Thursday night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. If you're interested, you have to call the office, because we have you fill out this little form about your overall physiological health. And it's a great questionnaire. So during this workshop, we're going to have you pull out your answers, and you get a chance to actually compare normal values to where you're at. You know, so lots of times people say, well, I'm not really sure if I have anything wrong with me, but I really kind of like the information that you're given and I'm interested in it. Come to one of the workshops. You know, this week the topic is thyroid, but it doesn't matter whether you're suffering from thyroid problem, or whether you're symptoms, or whether you're having some gut-related issues, or a neurotransmitter, memory, you know, weight loss, all of those things. You're going to learn an awful lot at this workshop, and it's free. You know, so you're going to spend an hour and 10 minutes of your time to learn about the topics that we're talking about here on the radio. But you'll get a chance to see like graphics and slide presentations, and so it, you know, maybe it may solidify a little bit more of what we're trying to do. And maybe this is for you, maybe it's not.
This is this Thursday at 7 p.m., correct?
It is. I'm also going to encourage any of the listeners to actually sign up for this particular series. You can get, like, if you've missed a show and you're interested in learning about it, if you go on to 9hiddenweightloss-secrets.com, that's the number 9, hiddenweightloss-secrets.com, you get a chance to listen to all of these past shows. So if you ever listened to it before and you said, oh, you know, this is an interesting topic, you'll have access to all of those. Mm-hmm. So we encourage you to do that. And if you're interested in coming to the workshop, again, just call our office at 886-888585. It's in Rio Grande. And just tell them that you're interested in coming to the workshop. And that's this Thursday from 7 to 8 o'clock.
Now, is there anything else we need to talk about with the hormones?
No, pretty much we covered everything that I wanted to cover. You know, we go into a little bit more detail at the workshop, but again, with slide presentations and pictures, it kind of makes things a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm. And again, the series is called 9 Hidden Secrets.
The series, the website
right.
that you'll get this is 9 Hidden Weight Loss Secrets, mm-hmm. 9hiddenweightloss-secrets.com.
Okay.
And this is, and we're talking about 9 reasons why you can't lose weight.
And the overall program is Feel Great Nate, and you have found great results with your patients that go through this. And again, it is a lifestyle modification. You do have to make some conscious choices.
You do.
To change the things that you're doing.
Right. You know, it's not going to come in pill form, you know, so it has to, you know, you have to make some, you have to work at it. If you want to learn more about our program, you can go on feelgreatin8institute.com, and there's a wealth of information about all the programs that we offer. All
right, Dr. Bob Olivieri, we look forward to the next part of this series and your visit to us next Tuesday.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, you're listening to 98.7 The Coast. Let's see, we've got some giveaways coming up. Yes, we